Well, I don't know about you, but I sure am guilty of this. Have you ever driven through a fast food window and tossed the bag in the back to hand it over to your kids to hurry up and eat because there's so many things on the agenda to hurry up and eat? You got to scarf down that food. We got dance class. We've got sports activities. It's something most parents, we are guilty of, especially now as school and all of those activities are kicking off. So how can busy families make dinner time healthier and easier and something to look forward to? Well, Dr. Susan, author of the book Brave Parent, Raising Healthy, Happy Kids Against All Odds in Today's World. And she's also a professional speaker and health educator who has a special interest in children after experiencing many of her own health challenges as a kid. Okay, you've got all the answers for us today, right? Help me figure this out.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a really important time for us to focus on raising healthy, happy kids because it's really hard to do. And one of the things we do is we rush through mealtime, and whatever we rush through, we give kids the idea that we don't value it. And when we think about our relationships to food and nourishing our bodies well, we really need to slow down and say, you know, what is it we're eating and why we're eating it? But part of it is just focusing on real food, not commercial food. It's so tempting to open up a package and trust whatever's in there instead of saying, let's break it down and look at real food, like vegetables and proteins, whatever it is that you're eating, that it's real. And that we involve kids in the preparation of it and that we serve it in appetizing ways. And our job as parents is to provide healthy alternatives that are, you know, prepared nicely, and their job is to eat when they're hungry. And that's really pretty simple, but yeah, we've made it harder.
Is it hard, Dr. Maples? You know, parents who are working full time, you've got, you know, maybe a couple kids. It's kind of hard to, maybe a couple kids who are picky eaters. I know in my home, it's like 3 different menus going on sometimes, you know. How do we fix this? How do we get a healthy meal for our family together?
The picky eater thing is tough, but I will tell you that we all build preferences around what we habitually eat. This is called neuroplasticity. Our brains really do select preferences around what habits we build. So we're capable of that. We just need to keep asking kids to try every bite. This in the book is called it's called the polite bite. We want kids to be able to taste everything on their plate, even if they have to run to the sink and spit it out, they really don't like it, because that's how we train our brains. It takes an average of 7 tastes of a food for them to start to like it. And to build all kinds of different menus around different preferences is crazy for parents.
Okay, so I'm guilty of this. Sometimes we put the TV on while we're eating dinner. That's a no-no.
I think we need to build celebration around the meal itself and have a time where we can converse. I like the idea of putting cloth napkins on, which is very ecologically responsible. When we're finished, we put them in the washing machine that we built, that we light a scentless candle in the center of the table, that we kind of keep all electronics off, including the television, phones away from the table, and that we engage in some conversation. That's building a mealtime. And even if you can only do it a couple days a week because your schedule is so nuts, if you do that, you start to crave those times around the table.
That's a very good point. Okay, I actually am pretty good at this, letting the kids help with meal prep. I have a daughter that loves to be in the kitchen, loves to cook. She's going to be 7, but that kind of gets her interested in eating what we have for dinner too.
It so does. One of my little tips is to keep a clean, just plain white tablecloth in the kitchen cupboard and spread it out on the floor and put the meal prep down on the floor so they can really do it without having to get up on counters. Talking about little kids that aren't tall enough to get up on the counter to help, and you're worried about them helping, and get down and do it with them, and then just toss that tablecloth in the washing machine, and when it's done, fold it back up and put it in your kitchen. So we really get down. Even when you're making cookies, you could bring a mixer down on the floor with an extension cord, and they could be measuring and dumping things in, and and again, looking at real foods instead of commercial foods. Preparing them takes time, and it's a labor of love.
Yeah, it is. And you also mentioned it can kind of be like a game, you know, without that TV, without that smartphone. Kids can, you know, they may think, oh, it's going to be boring, but that's not always the case.
I think it's important to have dialogue. And again, that's a time when we can really sit and talk. We can not only talk about what we're eating and how nourishing it is, but about our day. We can help them understand different, the language of emotion. We can really, sort of open up that dialogue. There are all kinds of conversation starter games like decks of cards. If you feel like you can't really do it yourself, you could set that up. But I love the idea of being all able to sit down and have a focused time together as a family.
All right. So sometimes we're in that rush. We get home, we do homework, we're trying to make the dinner, trying to do bath, but slowing down, we all need to do a little bit of that, right? Maybe even just slowing down while we're eating too.
Yes, mindfulness, the idea of being able to taste our food and to chew it well and to eat it slowly and appreciatively. One of the things that I look at in terms of mindfulness with eating is that we have very poor relationships to food in our culture. At any given time, like 2/3 of all women in the United States are on a diet, and diets don't really work. I mean, they work initially, and then we fall off of them and we gain the weight back and we feel guilty like we have failed. We want our kids to appreciate the fact that food is to be nourishing and that we don't really need to focus on portion control for eating the right kinds of foods. And so our relationships to food start with an appreciation for what we've done here, rather than opening up something and just shoving it into our mouth and really trying to get through the mealtime quickly with whatever's in the package.
You talked about this also, Doctor, about like eating real foods. Cutting out the processed, cutting out the packaged. What is having? I mean, it seems like an obvious thing, but having that real food, seeing the actual tomato on our plate, or seeing the cucumber or broccoli versus something that we just microwaved and zapped. What does that do to our minds and our body?
For the first thing is it eliminates added sugar. You can't imagine how much sugar is hidden in the commercial foods we eat. It's not that it enhances the flavor. The food manufacturers aren't doing it just because they think it tastes better. It actually drives our addiction to sugar, and increased sugar increases our hunger. So we just plain consume more. This sort of feeds that whole continuum of insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Believe it or not, 25% of kids in our country have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and they've never had a drop of alcohol. It's because our liver processes fructose. So one of the things eating whole foods does is it just eliminates added sugar.
Now, folks watching this are going to think, well, I cannot do this every night. That's just, unrealistic. Should we just maybe aim for a couple of nights a week, where we can do this, whether it's at breakfast or maybe dinner, where it can be realistic?
Yes, and I think it's important to prep foods and get them ready to take out the door instead of stopping at fast food places. If you're on the way to a sports thing, it's easy to stop and pull something out of a bag and throw it into the back seat. But it's nice to be able to also grab bags of steamed vegetables with, a little bit of garlic salt, or, like stuff that's pre-prepared, nuts and things that are healthy, fruits that are cut up, so that kids can snack on real foods and then maybe save a little bit more of a dinner for when we get home. Or if you're going to stop at a fast food place, know what you're doing. There are books called like Eat This, Not That help you learn what's healthy in a fast food place and what isn't.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Maples. Where can folks find your book?
Anywhere you buy books, or on Audible, called Brave Parent: Raising Healthy, Happy Kids Against All Odds in Today's World. You can also get on the Brave Parent podcast. That would be fun for you to continue to learn.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us here. All right. Coming up after the break, what you need to know